Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn. Wyoming voters head to the polls tomorrow to decide crowded primary races in the Cowboy State for governor, U.S. Senate, and U.S. House.
Now, that means just 9 hours from now, the polls open in Wyoming for the state's 2018 primary election.
Now, the newest poll shows that with just hours to go, as many as 20% of the eligible voters are still undecided. Topping the ballot in Wyoming, the crowded governor's race, where 6 candidates are vying for the GOP nomination to replace Governor Matt Mead. Mead is unable to run again due to term limits. In a new poll released just last Wednesday, the Republican governor's race appears to be a virtual dead heat.
Multi-millionaire Foster Freese, who has spent nearly $2.5 million of his own money so far, leads current Wyoming Treasurer Mark Gordon 21% to 20%. Harriet Hageman runs a close third with 16.2%. Businessman Sam Galiotis is running a distant fourth with 9.5%, and the other 2 candidates, Taylor Haynes and Bill Dolan, bring up the rear.
Perhaps, though, most notable in this Trafalgar poll is that 19.9% of those polled say they're still undecided. 6% say they've already voted. This poll, released last week, surveyed 1,775 Wyoming voters using a mix of cell phones and landline calls, along with emailed surveys. Now, the survey has a margin of error of 2.35%, which means the race is in a virtual dead heat.
The other top races in Tuesday's primary, U.S. Senate and U.S. House, also feature crowded races. Incumbent U.S. Senator John Barrasso faces 5 other GOP candidates. Businessman Dave Dodson has invested more than $1 million of his own money in his campaign. The winner will face Democrat Gary Trauner in November. And in Wyoming's U.S. House race, it's incumbent Congressman Liz Cheney, who faces 2 challengers in her first bid for re-election, and 2 Democrats, Greg Hunter and Travis Helm, are facing off in Wyoming's Democratic House race. The documentary film Dark Money, playing in several Montana theaters this week, focuses primarily on Montana political figures who want to shed more light on campaign spending. It, though, does not talk much to those who believe that scrutiny really isn't warranted. Tonight, MTN's Mike Dennison speaks with one of those groups to hear their perspective.
The film Dark Money takes aim at groups that promote political causes but don't divulge details on where they get their money. One of these groups is the Montana chapter of Americans for Prosperity, which is featured prominently in portions of the film. AFP Montana Director David Herbst says the group has a policy of not divulging its donors, who it believes are entitled to their privacy. AFP is a conservative group that promotes free market policies and issues. The group has ties to Koch Industries. The company is operated by David and Charles Koch, who've spent millions promoting conservative causes. Herbst says AFP Montana often communicates with voters about issues, and when it does, is not trying to influence elections. He says its donors, or anyone else, should be able to spend money on this communication without fear of economic or political retaliation if they were publicly known. But under Montana's 2015 disclosure law, AFP would have to identify its donors and spending if its communications mention a political figure in Montana within 60 days of an election or distribution of ballots. Herbst says the law has prevented AFP Montana from educating the public in that time period, thus restricting its free speech. But the chief sponsor of the law, Republican State Representative Frank Garner of Kalispell, says AFP's arguments against disclosure don't hold water. He told MTN News Monday if candidates and their campaign donors are disclosed and open to criticism, then the same principle should apply to donors to groups influencing elections. And he says AFP and groups like it are clearly trying to influence elections. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thank you, Mike.
Now, Montana's disclosure law does not apply to candidates running for federal office in Montana, such as U.S. House or U.S. Senate.
Montana's big sky filled with smoke from one side of the state to the other. But the good news, recent rain helping wash away some of that smoke and give our lungs and eyes a much needed break. And when the rain started on Saturday here in Billings, the air was considered moderately unhealthy, but then it started to inch closer to the unhealthy level. By Sunday, the air quality here in the Magic City and surrounding areas was well into the unhealthy range. But some gradual improvement throughout today, with the air getting really safer by the hour. About time.
And turning to weather, Bob, it's pretty soggy outside, and we've got another day of it.
And we got another storm just around the corner. It's probably going to move in here very shortly. We'll show it to you on radar. But let me show you how much rain we started off with. We had quite a bit on Saturday. It was one of those all-day sucker-type rainfalls. In Billings Heights, they had 1.44 inches out of it. Ekalaka had 1¼ inches. Busby had 1.12 in the southeast corner of the state. Look at Joliet, a little over 1 inch of rain. And the Billings Airport officially had 0.85 hundredths of an inch of rain. I guess they had a little bit more just to the east of the airport over in the Heights. Now let's take a look at the Doppler radar. You can see another line of showers just getting ready. It's just past Red Lodge. You're coming down off the Beartooth foothills, heading right up Interstate 90 and right into the Billings area. So we chance for a little more rain showers tonight, but nothing severe. We'll just have a good free car wash. We'll have more about that coming your way in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Over in western Montana, the rain also a much needed sight. For most of the region, it's the first time in 47 days that rain has fallen. That means it's been dry since July 3rd. But unfortunately, forecasters say this moisture won't do much for the smoky air as numerous fires, including the large Howe Ridge fire burning in Glacier Park, send smoke far and wide.
That fire in Glacier is holding steady tonight after nearly doubling in size over the weekend to an estimated 7,800 acres.
But incoming winds could spell more trouble. Crews are working quickly to protect structures with sprinkler systems as hotshot crews work to create more containment lines.
The firefighters are also using pumps to limit the fire's spread toward the going to the park road or going to the Sun Road. The fire's rapid growth over the weekend forced campers and workers with the National Park Service to evacuate on Sunday.
That fire now making one family's harrowing trip viral. A man and his father desperately trying to escape the flames.
And their video taken just after that lightning-sparked blaze started more than a week ago. DeMarco Morgan brings us the latest tonight.
I think we can drive through this. What? Holy bacon shit.
Surrounded by towering flames, Justin Bilton and his father frantically tried to escape.
Dad, this is insane.
I know. We don't want to get trapped in here.
You can hear the panic in Justin's voice as he navigates his car down a narrow mountain trail.
You can't see, just go easy now. Easy.
Dad, the car is heating up. It's going to explode.
We're all right.
Oh, Jesus, God, help us.
See the flames that big and for that far was absolutely terrifying. It was like it was unearthly. It was like driving into hell.
Bilton says he feared for his life as the dark smoke made seeing the road nearly impossible. A fallen tree blocked their one way out.
Good, you're doing good.
Oh, my God. Dad, we can't get out.
Once we got to that down tree, you know, my heart just dropped, and that's when I thought we were dead. I thought there was no way we could back up through what we had just come through.
Bilton put the car in reverse, driving back to their lakeside campsite where they flagged down a boat. The car was destroyed in the fire.
I just know that we were lucky. It wasn't our time to go yet, so maybe there's some higher power that has a purpose for me and my dad here.
Now, thankfully, Justin and his father did not suffer any injuries.
Can you imagine trying to back down that road with all those flames? Neither can I.
No.
Officials say they don't expect the Howe Ridge fire to be fully contained possibly until November.
Well, 3 weeks after a family float trip turned deadly near Livingston, the body of a 15-year-old boy has been recovered from the Yellowstone River. James Anderson's body recovered Sunday near Springdale, some 20 miles from where he went missing back in July. Park County and Gallatin County Sheriff's offices say a fisherman discovered the body on Sunday and alerted authorities. Members of the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office responded immediately and recovered the body of Anderson, who is the son of Gallatin County Sheriff's Captain Jim Anderson. The boy went missing on July 27th when the family's drift boat capsized after it hit a bridge pylon at the Highway 89 bridge east of Livingston.
We're thankful that we're able to return James to his family. We're hoping that by doing so we'll bring some closure to Jim and his family. And this was just such an unbelievable tragedy to have something like this happen. To lose his wife and 15-year-old son. I just can't imagine going through that. So we're just happy to be able to bring James home.
Anderson's mother, Angie, also died in that accident. Jim Anderson and his daughter were able to make it safely to shore.
New information tonight about the Colorado man now charged with the murders of his pregnant wife and 2 young daughters. 33-year-old Chris Watts now says his wife killed the children first. According to an arrest affidavit released today, Watts told police he found his wife strangling their daughters in the bedroom. He says that's when he started to strangle her in a fit of rage. He then says he loaded all 3 bodies into his truck and took them to an oil field where he worked. Watts will be back in court tomorrow.
Coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, what started as an introduction to farming grew into a celebration of history, heritage, and family. We'll look back on Crow Fair.
And in sports tonight, high school golf teams are underway with their second tournament of the young season. Scott shows us who's on top of your Billings invite.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.